What's up, everybody? It's your man's KJ the Great, dropping another edition of All Sports Media TV. But first, I want to say, I hope and pray everything is great your way. Now, we about to talk about it. All right, y'all. So, it seems that the rematch that nobody was waiting for may be off. Y'all know who I'm talking about. The rematch between Earl, the Truth Spence Jr., and Terence Bud Crawford. Errol Spence Jr. is former welterweight, three-belt welterweight champion. He held the WBA, IBF, and the WBC welterweight titles. Terence Crawford was the WBO champion. He beat Errol Spence bell to bell for his titles. He was the and became the undisputed welterweight world champion. He is a former junior welterweight undisputed world champion, three division world champion, 40 wins, no losses, no draws, 30 wins by way of knockout. Errol Spence is now 28 wins, one loss, no draw, 22 wins by way of knockout. Now, their fight, July 29th, Las Vegas, um, it seemed like on paper it was the fight of the century. You know, two top five pound for pound fighters going at it. um, Seemed to be almost 50-50 on paper as you could ever mark it down. Said to be the biggest fight since Hagler, I mean, or not Hagler, but Hearns and Leonard way back, because we get an undisputed champion, especially in this four belt era where we got belts just everywhere. Now, the fight was built up, it was hyped up, but it turned out to be everything but what we thought it would be. Terence Crawford knocked Errol Spence down in the second round, dropped him twice in the seventh round, and stopped him in the ninth round, and pretty much beat him in every round in between. I gave Errol Spence the first round. He looked a little bit good in the third round, you know, coming back after he got knocked down, even in the second round, but ultimately those rounds went to Terence Crawford. Now, they had in their contract that the winner of this fight get to choose the weight that they fight next at, while the winner also gets a bigger slice of the pie going into this fight. Now, the loser got the choice to activate the rematch clause within a 30 business day plan, and Errol Spence did so. And they were Errol Spence was wanting to get the rematch done by December, but we know Showtime got out the sport of boxing, so that kind of put a halt on things in it on its own. And they were shopping around for new networks, the PBC, and they ultimately signed and settled with Amazon Prime Video. Now, what also could have thrown this fight out the window is that Earl Spence, in the recent months or weeks, I should say, has had cataract surgery, and he posted a video to his Twitter of himself coming out in a wheelchair, eye patch on, saying, you know, why you think I was getting hit with so many hooks and jabs and, you know, all of that. And he tried to, you know, double back on it and say, you know, I don't want to take anything from Terence Crawford with that, you know, so but why you think all of this happened? Then it comes out he said that he had a broken rib leading up to the fight, or a separated rib, whichever one, and that left him unable to train properly for the last month or so leading up to the fight. Couldn't really run, couldn't spar. He couldn't do the things that he needed to do to be prepared, is what he was saying. Terence Crawford responded to all that saying, "Man, I've heard it all. You know, I wish you the best going forward. I'm moving on pretty much. He's done with the fight, done with the excuses." Now, I don't know how this is going to work out, because if they sign the contract, then that would mean that they're locked in for this fight. But Terence Crawford has been linked in recent weeks to potentially move up to 168 pounds and challenge Saul Canelo Alvarez for his super middleweight undisputed crown. Terence Crawford did say he wants to be undisputed in three separate weight classes. At first, it was looking like he wanted to take on stablemate of Errol Spence, Jamel Lyons only Charlo, but Charlo moved up to super middleweight and lost to Canelo and was stripped of his WBO title. Tim Tszyu was elevated. Then um, he had a mandatory for his IBF title. He vacated that title. And then recently he was stripped of his full champion status and his WBC title. And now all he really has is the Ring Magazine title and the WBA title. So if Terence Crawford wanted to be undisputed at that weight, there's a lot of obstacles there with, getting to that point. It takes a while to unify all the belts unless you do it, pretty much in a calendar year like Canelo Alvarez did. But we know how things go with a lot of fighters and promoters and networks that don't always work out the way it should. But a while back, Canelo said that there's weight classes for a reason. Ultimately, he didn't want the fight, and then new interest peaked in the fight after he beat Charlo, and that interest is that they he will move up and chase greatness and fight Canelo Alvarez, and it's looking like that's going to be a likely thing to happen this September. Now, in the meantime, for Errol Spence, what is the move he needs to make? Because if this fight with Terence Crawford is off, what does he do? He's moving up to 154. He's already made that very, very clear. And a fight that could be on the table is him versus the winner of Tim Tszyu versus Keith Thurman. We know that Errol Spence did not want to fight Keith Thurman after Keith Thurman gave Errol Spence the runaround years back when Keith Thurman unified the belts and Errol Spence won his IBF title. He called him out, and he didn't. Keith Thurman didn't want to oblige that. So um, now you got Keith Thurman wanting at one point to fight Errol Spence for his title, but Errol Spence said you can take the L out of level because it's over. I'm not fighting Keith Thurman. I'm going after undisputed, and we all seen how that went. So what do you guys think? Should the rematch happen, or should Earl Spence move on and look forward to becoming a two-division champion, possibly taking on Tim Tszyu, because I believe Tim Tszyu is going to beat Keith Thurman. I believe he's going to stop him. And do you think Terence Crawford should move up, chase greatness, and fight Canelo Alvarez for his undisputed crown at super middleweight? I don't like that fight. I do like that fight, but I don't want it to happen because I want to see David Benavidez get his shot. So let me know what you guys think. Thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate it. Peace.